Hello, everybody, and welcome to the I Didn't Know ClearPoint Could Do That webinar series. Today we're covering coming soon, ClearPoint 10, and it's practically here. Today is a fantastic webinar. We're just about to roll out ClearPoint 10 in all its glory, and we're very excited to share that with you. So I'm Joseph, and I'm joined by my co-host, Catherine.
Hello, everyone.
So you'll have us both here today to walk you through all things ClearPoint 10. So a few quick housekeeping items. Please, we ask that everybody put your phones on mute. Also, we're going to be recording this session, and we'll be sure to make that recording available to everybody very shortly. And today's webinar will probably last about 25 minutes, maybe a little bit more, but we'll be sure to leave plenty of time for questions at the end for all of you. And speaking of questions, if you have any questions, please feel free to email them to us. You can send them to support@clearpointstrategy.com. Again, that's support@clearpointstrategy.com, and we'll be sure to answer any questions you have at the end. If we don't have time to get to everybody's questions, then we will follow up with you via email to make sure that no questions go unanswered. So on our last webinar, we actually talked about ClearPoint 10 beta. And here are your hosts smiling back at you. In that last webinar, we highlighted exporting PDFs, creating briefing books. We talked a little bit about exporting to Excel and PowerPoint, as well as showed you some really cool inline editing capabilities in ClearPoint. And it was really great. Now, since all these webinars actually work to build on each other, if you missed that last webinar, I would highly recommend taking a look at it. You can find it. It's in our support center. You can just search for webinar. It's also been posted on our blog, and it's on our ClearPoint Live Vimeo channel. So today we're introducing you to the full release of ClearPoint 10, and we'll focus on some improvements to navigation as well as some brand new features. And we're also going to cover some features that have always been in ClearPoint, but now they're much, much improved. So if you haven't seen ClearPoint 10 yet, prepare to be amazed. You're really in for a treat. We've really gone ahead and made ClearPoint much more modern. It's a lot easier to use and made a lot of improvements throughout. And it's coming very soon to a web browser near you. So today, more specifically, we're going to get into talking about some things regarding my profile, notifications, the new control panel, a new approach to the audit log, so things with pods and fields, and strategy maps as well. And as I mentioned at the top, if you have any questions, please feel free to send them to us throughout the webinar. We'll try to answer them at the end. You can email them to this address on the screen here, support@clearpointstrategy.com. So, all right, let's go ahead and ride and jump right on into ClearPoint. So, per usual, we're flying the extremely friendly skies in our Upward Airlines demo account. And as everyone here is well aware, we've made some big changes in ClearPoint 10. And we really try to improve the overall usability for our clients. Now, in some cases, that means moving around where things are found on the screen or within the application to places that are easier to find. In other cases, it means moving icons to places that make a bit more sense for how they're actually used. So, additionally, we've also tried to place objects and functionality in places that are similar to other web applications you might be familiar with already. And where we're actually going to start today is a perfect example of that. So let's head to the upper right-hand corner of the application, and there we can see my initials, JL. If I click on my initials, then I'll get a drop-down to appear. And to start, we'll look at Edit Profile. Now, you might remember that my profile used to be displayed in the lower left corner of ClearPoint. It was not utilized very often, so we thought we should tuck it away a little more and put it somewhere a little bit more logical. And under your own initials, for something like my profile, seems pretty logical to me. Plus, many websites that you're familiar with, like ClearPoint, like Facebook, LinkedIn, and many others actually have similar functionality located in a very similar location. So I'll go ahead and click down into Edit Profile. And here is where you can make some changes and actually update your supervisor. You're able to input your department. If I tab over to security, this is where you are able to change your password or enable two-factor authentication if you're looking for a little bit more security. So if I head back over to profile, though, this is the really interesting part. and it's a brand new thing in ClearPoint 10. So I can actually drag and drop an image in here to this box, or I can click to upload one that's going to be unique to me. So I'll go ahead and do just that. If I click here, I have a picture of myself that I can go ahead and upload. And my picture appears here, and it's actually going to even be centered for me as well. And then when I go ahead and click Save, it's going to appear for me up here in this right-hand corner. So now I have a picture of myself looking back at me, and then I can also navigate to a summary view here, and my picture is also going to appear next to everything that I own. So here I'm listed as the owner of this action item. You can see my picture. You can see Mark owns this action item and see his picture as well. But then people like Izzy and Trudy have chosen not to upload a picture, so they just have their initials showing here. So users can choose to upload any image they'd like to be displayed in ClearPoint, or they can go the route of Izzy and Trudy and just ignore that and let their initials appear. So it's a really great addition that helps people collaborate and customize ClearPoint to their liking. Plus, who doesn't want to see more smiling faces, right? So if I head back to the upper right, I'm sure you saw a few other options here that I hope piqued your interest. So we'll get this one right out of the way, but this, of course, is where you would go to log out. And perfect, everyone's got that down. I think you understand that. But much more exciting, we can actually click on My Notifications and see anything ClearPoint has notified me about. And this is brand new in ClearPoint 10. So I'll go ahead and click on My Notifications. And here we can see several things that I've exported recently. And it's easy for me to download them from here, or I can also delete them. And I also have this search notification bar here. So if I'm looking for something specific, I can go ahead and search for that. So also, you might have noticed that when I clicked on My Notifications, the notifications section in the control panel actually opened up for me, revealing a few more options. So we'll get to more on the control panel in a second, but first let's explore some functionality within notifications. So I'll go ahead and click on Set Up Notifications. And here we can see a few notifications we've actually gone ahead and set up for ourselves. This feature is brand new in ClearPoint, so let me go ahead and show you exactly how it works. So if I go and I click on this plus sign, I can add my new notification. So next, I'll give my notification a name. So I'll call this Financial Danger. Under Add Element, I'll start typing out revenue. And notice how ClearPoint will search for me across the entire account and return anything that matches what I'm looking for, what I'm typing. So I'll go ahead and choose revenue for our corporate scorecard. And then I can add as many elements to this notification as I would like. So it's called Financial Danger. So I'll go ahead and also include my expenses revenue, my expenses measure, and I'll also include my net profit measure. All right, so now those have added. And with field, I can select whatever field I want to be tracking and notified about. Since I'm looking for warning signs here of danger, I'm going to select status. And then for compare, I'll say equals. And then for value, I'll go ahead and select below plan. Under users, I'm going to be added automatically since I'm choosing to set up this notification. I can remove myself if I'd like, but I also can add more people. So I'll go ahead and add Greg, since he's our CFO and probably wants to be updated on our financials. And then within message, I can choose whatever message I want to be sent whenever these measures drop below plan. So I'll say, be aware that a corporate financial measure has fallen below plan. Great. So what I'm basically doing here is I'm telling ClearPoint to notify me whenever any of these elements returns a red status. So say they're green or yellow, and then one of these measures changes to yellow, changes to red, then I'm going to get a notification, and Greg will as well. So I go ahead and click Save. And there we'll see that notification has appeared. And later I can always delete it, I can duplicate it, and I can also edit. Now this is really powerful. So you can get real-time updates when an important element status changes. You can also be notified when the owner changes, as well as several other fields. So for those of you who are using workflow approval processes with custom fields, get really excited. Users can be notified when the approval state of their element changes. Also, if I go ahead and click on the drop-down next to the plus sign, then I have the ability to change my notification options. So from here, I can choose to be notified when an element that I own is updated or edited. I can be notified when elements I've marked as my favorites are updated or edited. And then I can control how I'm notified. So I can tell ClearPoint to not send me any emails, but to just notify me within ClearPoint. I can have ClearPoint send me an email each day. That's going to be like a summary or Reader's Digest version of all my notifications from the day. Or I can have ClearPoint send an email to me for every single notification that's created. So I would probably go with this middle route and have something sent to me once a day just to prevent being bombarded with emails. But this option and this functionality is all here for you to choose what works best for you. Now, finally, you'll see send reminders listed over under my notifications. And that is how admins can schedule email reminders to go out to users. They can be really helpful nudges to people to get them to update their information before the due date. And it's based off of some of the functionality we have currently in ClearPoint. So while we're actually looking at the control panel, I'd like to run through a few things that have changed and been finalized since we last spoke. First, it may have already caught your eye, but the current period and the period selector has changed and is now found on the control panel. So placing that here actually makes ClearPoint much more responsive. And to show you how this works, I'm going to just navigate over to our matrix summary view. And then you're able to use the arrows, of course, to move forward and back in time and move between periods. So now I've moved all the way up to May of 2016. We can see that we have some data that hasn't been entered yet since we're moving forward in time. If I want to go back, I can just use the arrow to go back, of course. Or what I'm also able to do now in ClearPoint 10 is I can click on the date to actually open this window. Here I can easily move from year to year. And then when I'm in the year that I want to be in, I can select whatever month I want to view. So I'll go ahead and select February. And then it's going to go ahead and just take me right back to February. So no more huge scrolling drop-downs, and time travel is really made much easier in ClearPoint 10 with your new flux capacitor here. So moving along, the home button remains the same. So it's pretty self-explanatory there. But if we jump down to my favorites, here I'm going to see a list of everything that I've actually favorited in ClearPoint. So for those who are wondering exactly kind of what I'm referring to here, let me go ahead and just back up a bit. If I go ahead and open a measure like this revenue measure that we've worked on in several different webinars, on the measure detail page, you're going to notice this gold star. Now, if I click that gold star, that is going to add this revenue measure to my list of favorites. These gold stars, you can find them on any single detail page. You can find them really easily too on summary view pages. So if I move to my matrix view here, you can see it there. And once I go ahead and actually add it to my favorites, you're going to notice that in this dropdown, that star appears. And then when I navigate back here to my favorites, you're going to see it shows up here as well. So once I'm back here on my favorites, I can go ahead and see all the favorites that are listed. But if I scroll down a little bit more, then you'll see my scorecard listed here as well. So in ClearPoint 10, we've combined my favorites and my scorecard onto one screen to make things a little easier for people. So these lists are really exceptionally valuable. So let's say it's time to make updates. A user can easily navigate here and then use this list like a checklist or to-do list to run through and make updates. So I can go ahead and scroll down. I'll click on time at gate. Maybe I want to go in and make updates or edits to this measure. I can see that the status is being automatically evaluated, but I can go ahead and type in my analysis and my recommendations. And then if I'd like to do any updates with my data, I can go here, type in my new data, and then when I'm done, just simply click Save. My measure is updated, and then I can continue to work through my list until I have all my updates done. So keep working through this to-do list until it becomes a to-done list. So one more thing that you're actually able to do here is if I have a lot of favorites and if I own a lot of different things that are listed in my scorecard, which I happen to, you can go ahead and click on this icon here. And then the list is going to switch to a column structure. So that way things can be more easily found and a little bit more easily managed. So we have a much better view of everything that we favorite and that we own. And we can get to this anywhere from within ClearPoint too. So I really think that users are going to absolutely love this. So if I head back to our little tour of the control panel, I'll go ahead and open up scorecards. And for those of you with several scorecards, you're going to be really thankful for this. You actually have the ability to filter scorecards. So if I'm looking for the European division, I can just start to type, and that scorecard will be pulled up that I can click down into. So it's going to make navigating, if you have a lot of scorecards, a whole lot easier for you. Moving along, we also, if I expand documents, you'll notice that we've actually consolidated briefing books and published reports directly under documents. And these reports that these are reports that you're creating. And we felt that they should be housed in one central location. So if you're looking for any kind of report that you've done, it's going to be found here under documents. Now, we touched on notifications a minute ago, but it's important to remember that you can get to notifications here on the control panel or in the upper right under My Notifications. And then finally, we're going to come to System Settings. And for those administrators out there, here are the new options, basically. So if I open this up, you can see that you can handle everything you need to control your account overall. From here, we can click on Scorecards. And you'll see that managing your scorecards is going to be extremely similar to how you manage any other element. And if I change this view back from the column view to the more listed out view, for those of you who have a lot of different scorecard hierarchies, it's going to be nice because you can see that a scorecard is the child of another scorecard without needing to click into it to find out. So it's going to be much easier to manage and understand your hierarchies. Finally, if I click on Admin Options, this is really cool. So these are all the different things you can do in ClearPoint to customize your account, do a lot of different cool things here with ClearPoint. And they used to be tucked away on tabs and sub-tabs, but now they're all out here, so they're much easier for you to find and see. So if I wanted to customize my status indicators, I could just come in here, click on Status Indicators. Here's the ones that we have in the system. If I want to add a new one, I can click on Add Status. If I want to change this from above target to something different, I could come in here, open it up, change the name. I can change the score that I'm using to weight this. I can also click on Use Custom Status Indicator and drag in or click to upload whatever image I want to use instead. When I'm done, I would just click Save and everything would be all set. So we made this much easier to find certain things you might be looking for and made it much, much better. So with that, I'm actually going to go ahead and turn the ship over to Catherine. So Catherine, let's go ahead and ride.
Thanks, Joseph. I love this new admin options screen. I think it's so cool. So next, I'm going to go ahead and show you around our new and improved audit trail and introduce a feature that'll make your life easier that I think you're really going to love. So I'll go ahead and click into the ticket price differential measure for an example. And maybe I've decided that I'm going to remove the calculation from the target series because I want to practice my mental math by calculating this number manually every month. Once I've done, though, I've realized that this decision is pretty time-consuming, and it also leaves a lot of room for error. And to top it all off, I can't even remember what the formula is for the target anymore. So if only there was some way to get that formula back. Well, all you have to do is click on My Revision History at the bottom of the page, and here I can see all changes that I've made, including this most recent one where I removed the formula. And better yet, if I click on this old value before save, I can reapply it, undoing my change, and restore the formula to the series. Thank goodness. So we've heard your request for an undo feature loud and clear, so now you can go back and undo changes that you've made by accident or otherwise. And here we are back in the Calculations tab of the target series, and we can see our calculation has been restored. So I'll show you a couple of other places from which you can access your revision history as well. If we click into the Edit menu at the top of the measure, you'll see that Revision History is one of your options, and here you can see every change that's been made to this particular element. That element revision history is also available as a tab from the Edit Measure menu on whichever page you're on. And as Joseph pointed out earlier, the audit log is also available from System Settings in the control panel. So there are a couple of updates to pod settings that are worth mentioning as well, which I'll show you by clicking on Edit Layout from the Edit menu. And I'm going to click into this Measure Data table, and I'll check off Hide Pod in Online View. So we'll see an eye symbol appear, indicating that the visibility settings of this pod have been changed. And I'll go ahead and click Save. So remember here that ClearPoint is in Edit or Unlocked mode by default, which is why we can still see the Measure Data table field on this page. But if we click the Lock button in the top of the screen, you'll see it disappear. And this is a great way to create simple views to display during your meetings while still keeping your information easily accessible for editing. So, moving on to strategy maps, I'm excited to walk you through our sleek new strategy map editor. We've updated the look and functionality of the map editor to make strategy maps even more user-friendly in ClearPoint 10. So here we have our maps drop-down in the top navigation. And you can see that you can keep your maps organized using the Manage Map screen, just like you can with other elements. So from this screen, you can edit, delete, duplicate your maps, which is much easier to manage than our last map editor. And from here, we can go ahead and click on Add Map, and this takes us to our new strategy map editor. So it looks cleaner already, I know. In the top left corner, you can rename your map. And then clicking on the map area allows us to upload a new background image. And as always, you'll want this image to be either a JPEG or a PNG file. And so here you have our Upward Airlines strategy map. And if we wanted, we could click on this trash icon to easily remove the background image. Then if we click into an element type over here, we can filter our elements to easily find the ones that we're looking for. Wow, see what happened there when we put that element onto the map? The name is actually displayed right next to the icon. And this isn't just a feature of the editor. You can actually keep the names on the map once you've saved your map so that they'll be displayed right there next to the status indicators. So we'll get into this feature more in just a second, but I also want to point out that the status icons here, or not the status icons, the element icons are the same as they are in the top navigation. So for example, we have these boxes to represent objectives, and if you look over in the side navigation, you'll see that the charts correspond with measures just like they do in the top navigation. So this is a great way to keep track of which elements are which as you're adding them to your strategy map. So clicking into the options section, this is where many of the new strategy map features live. So show names is the option that's allowing the names to be displayed on the map. We can click that on and off. And when show names is selected, you have a variety of other options that allow you to customize the look and feel of your strategy map. So if you have longer element names, you can change the box width, you can change the box color, text color, and even more. This gives you a lot of control over the look of your strategy map, and you could even upload a background that's a little more blank and then add your element names right within ClearPoint. But for now, we are going to go ahead and uncheck Show Names. And when you hover over each of these elements, you'll still see the name appear so that you can easily remember which element you're moving around your map. When we're done, we'll click Save. And then we can select our map from the top navigation dropdown. And we'll see our flat, sleek, clickable strategy map. So these features will give you a lot more flexibility in editing your strategy maps and more options for displaying your information. And lastly, Joseph showed this feature under My Favorites, but I'd like to point out that it's available from Manage Reports and Manage Elements as well. So if we click into Manage Measures here, you'll see that we have a long list that we'd have to scroll through to get to the bottom. I can go ahead and click on this icon to switch from 1 element per row to 4 elements per row. And you'll notice that the duplicate and delete buttons are only available from this row structure. But the column structure gives you a really easy to navigate view from which you can easily favorite or edit elements, especially if they're down towards the bottom of a long list. And there you have it. I hope you're as excited as we are for these new features with ClearPoint 10.
Cool, that's awesome. I really love the strategy map stuff. I think it's fantastic. Basically, people can upload a blank background image and almost build the strategy map right in ClearPoint. So I think people are really going to like that. So we have a ton of questions coming in. We're a little tight on time, but we're going to try to get to as many questions as possible. And the first question that I saw was, which changes in ClearPoint can and cannot be undone? And oh yes, that's about the famous sort of undo button that people have been asking about for a while. So Catherine did a great job showing us that, so I'll go ahead and let her take that one.
Sure, Joseph. So you'll actually be notified of changes that you can't undo when you make those changes, and those will separate what you can undo and what you can't. So these are things like linking and unlinking, adding and deleting elements. I'll show you an example. If we click into Manage Action Items, I'll go ahead and add an action item. It'll save by default with this new action item name. And then when I delete this action item, we'll have this pop-up window that says, are you sure you want to delete new action item? This cannot be undone. So that's your indicator that you won't be able to undo this change. And once I click delete, if I click into my revision history, you'll also see that this entry is for reference only, meaning you can't click to go back to the old value. So the changes that you can make are things along the lines of entering new values in a field or calculations, as we saw, anything that you've really entered into ClearPoint. Okay, great. That sounds good. So another question that I saw was, what are some other things we can be notified about? So let me go ahead and quickly show you, actually. So I'll head back from our control panel. I'll go to Set Up Notifications. And here I'll go into edit the one that we actually created, this financial danger one. And under field, this is where we can see several other things we can be notified about changes in, including the name of the measure, the owner, the periodicity, reporting frequency, and then any sort of other pick list custom fields or things that we're adding. So then also, of course, you can always do any change at all you can be notified about. You could say equals something specific or does not equal something specific. So if I wanted to be a little more in control of these, I could say, show me whenever these things do not equal. Then instead of below plan, I could say above target, right? And then I'll be notified whenever they don't show a green status. So several options there. Looks like we have one more question coming in here, which is, when will ClearPoint 10 be released? Okay. All right. Well, great. Yeah, we have a couple other questions too, but just based on time and the fact that this question is actually a really great segue into wrapping up, I think this will probably be our last question. But ClearPoint 10 is going to be fully released on April 25th. Clients are going to be able to actually easily access the beta version from within ClearPoint starting the week of March 28th, so very soon. We're getting very, very close to that.
And this week, administrators from each account should be receiving emails from a member of our team just communicating these dates and also offering to help create a plan to transition your organization over to ClearPoint 10. So, well, the hard launch of ClearPoint 10 is going to be on April 25th. Users will have the option to continue using ClearPoint 8, which is our current version that people are used to, until August, just to give you time to transition over. And we're here to help you transition, as quickly as possible when you're ready. So we're going to be, of course, updating our support center. It's going to have videos and articles on ClearPoint 10 for your reference. And we're also actually working on documents that we can send you that you'll be able to edit and even customize a little bit that you can send to your users to assist everybody as they move over from ClearPoint 8 to the fabulousness that is ClearPoint 10. So it's getting toward the end of our time here together today. ClearPoint 10 is almost here. Get excited, everybody. I know that we are very excited over here. And from Catherine and I, thank you so much for your time and for joining us. And we will see you next time on the I Didn't Know ClearPoint Could Do That webinar. Happy reporting.